Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Sekani, a podcast for people in their 20s who are trying to figure out life and not get lost along the way. Today's guest is Shanti Hershenson, Hershenson, right? An award-winning teen author, poet, anti-bullying advocate, and one of the youngest independently published writers making waves online today. Shanti published her first novellas while still in the sixth grade, but her storytelling journey started much earlier. From childhood drawings and scribbles to building entire fictional world across science fiction, fantasy, dystopian fiction, poetry, and contemporary storytelling. Now, at just 18 years old, Shanti has written and published dozens of books, built a large audience online, and used platforms like TikTok to connect with readers around the world. Alongside her writing career, she has also become a strong voice against bullying, using poetry and storytelling to speak honestly about the emotional realities many young people experience. Her work blends creativity, vulnerability, discipline, and imagination in a way that's inspiring not just for young writers, but for anyone trying to pursue something meaningful at an early age. Shanti, welcome to Conversations with Sekani. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So yes, Shanti, you started writing at an incredibly young age, right? What first pulled you towards storytelling as a kid?
So it's kind of a silly answer, but I really feel I have loved writing for as long as I can remember. I started reading at a particularly early age, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the concept of like a whole like another universe existing just in these like pages, and I fell in love with just like fiction and stories and having this like an escape from reality, but then also the idea of like myself being able to create something new and create something like basically from nothing. And I thought that was so magical. As soon as I found out that like when I was a kid, when I found out that there were people who created books, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is what I want to do. These people are like wizards. And it was just something I took with me my entire life. So then when I was about 12, I actually set out to write my first novel. And then from there, I've never stopped.
Wow. Okay. I love to speak with ambitious people, right? And I think you're someone that's very ambitious. You're a goal-getter, right? You see something, you want it, and you go for it. That's exactly who you are. So I'll say it's a pleasure to actually be speaking with you now. And yes, publishing books in middle school is something like most people can barely imagine. So, what was that experience like emotionally at such a young age for you?
It was a really crazy experience.
Mhm.
So I discovered publishing and self-publishing during the pandemic. Well, I guess technically 2 or 3 days before we went into lockdown. And I'd written these two before I started writing my first like full-length novel. I'd written these two novellas with a friend of mine. And when we were finished, I really wanted a printed copy. And I was like, oh, I wonder how I could go do that. And I went online, I was looking different ways to like basically print a book. And then I discovered self-publishing. And before I knew it, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to go and publish this book. And obviously, I recommend a little bit more thought in the process than I put in it when I was 12, but this was what laid that groundwork. So then I was in the sixth grade then, and then after, as we were in lockdown, I kept going. And I started writing this novel, and now I had this skill set where I knew how to publish, I knew what I was supposed to do, and through that, I just kept researching. So then by the time this book was completed and by the time I had other work that I had edited that I really wanted to publish, I had the knowledge as to how to do it. And also I was able to learn how to like build a platform and all of that. So it was really just like, I mean, having this space allowed me to like research and then publish. And I will say it was terrifying putting my work out there at like 13.
All right. Wow. Okay. So yes, thanks for sharing your story with us today. And yeah, talking about writing, publishing, and also creativity, right? You've written across multiple genres like science fiction, fantasy, dystopian fiction, poetry, and even contemporary stories, right? So what draws you most toward sci-fi specifically?
So with sci-fi, I really love the blend of both like imagination and realism, where so much of sci-fi is rooted in things that are currently going on and like speculations about the future. And often it takes place in our world or our universe. Sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it is a completely different reality, and yet it's still grounded in truth and grounded in like humanity's fears for the future and questions we have and things we're interested in, and a lot of the time maybe it's inspired by history. So it's this great combination of like truth and speculation with these elements that like theoretically could happen, some things that are currently happening right now or things that could exist in the future. So it's this fascinating combination of elements that I think draws me to it, and that's so exciting and yet even sometimes like scary and just like it's so interesting to me.
Hmm. All right. Wow. Okay. So yes, like I said, thanks for sharing your story. And what what have you learned, all right, about storytelling from writing so many different types of books, basically?
So I've definitely there's a takeaway I have with every literally almost every single book I write. I have some exceptions where I
Mm,
have books that are just so like easy and fun and I don't even I'm just like enjoying it the whole way through. But there's always usually a point when I'm writing where I really want to give up, where I'm in that dragging middle and I hate the book. I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know how I'm going to pull this off. I don't know how anyone's going to like this. I just feel like I'm writing nonsense at this point. And yet, one thing I've learned through just doing this process over and over and over again is that I'll get through it and that this is only a temporary just like part of the process. And in fact, I think
mm,
if I have this dragging middle, if I'm like stressing about the book, it means I really care about it. And it means because I care about it so much, it's going to turn into something amazing. I've definitely also learned a lot about editing, about being able to take a step back from my work and being able to be like, hey, like, I need a break from this. Like, I am not going to be able to like edit this effectively if I don't first like take a step back. So I've really learned a lot about like
mm.
even disconnecting myself from it later on so that I can go and share the book with the world, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does actually. That makes sense. And yes, I want us to, dive into social media, right? Audience and young creators, basically. So you've also built a strong following on TikTok, right? One of my favorite app, by the way. So what have you learned about connecting with audience online as an author?
So I found that connecting with people is so important. I mean, it's in everything I do. Even when I'm writing a book, I'm writing it because I intend to share it with other people. And so because people are reading it, there is this connection that's being made between me and the reader. But in terms of marketing, the most important thing I can do to share my books is to connect with other people. And I found, though, I've used all kinds of social media platforms, that TikTok is the most effective for me. And part of that is because I write for young adults and I am a young adult myself. So, and there is no app that is more dominated by like teens. So
Right.
there I can share content that is like directed towards the people that I really want reading and enjoying my books. And then
Mm,
I can also connect with them directly. And it's this really
mm,
great pipeline for connection and for being able to share my work with people who are going to read it and enjoy it. And that's not to say that adults don't enjoy my books, because as much as my books are read by teenagers, so many of my books are also read by adults. But I find that I have a really great blend of like teens and
mm.
adults on TikTok.
All right. Wow. Okay. So I like that you mentioned content, right? A lot of creatives today, they feel the pressure to, constantly produce content. So how do you balance creativity with social media without burning out?
I definitely feel it sometimes where I'm like, I have no idea what to post. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And yet, I find that if I'm making content that like is trendy, for example, I'm following a lot of trends on TikTok and I'm trying to apply what I'm creating to things that are like, gaining views and popularity, whether it's using songs that are trending or following just different silly trends and making them about my books. But at the same time, I also need to be making content that I'm enjoying, because if I'm making a video that's just like boring and not fun and just something that I'm like, I don't know why I'm creating this. And that's going to be, the readers are going to be able to tell that I didn't enjoy this video. And it's going to, it's not going to have as strong of an effect, or if I'm making something that I think people will enjoy, but that I'm also enjoying too.
All right. Wow. Okay. So yes, how you've been able to build a strong community, right, through TikTok and other places. But like how important is community and support, especially for young creators today?
I think community can be everything. I mean, writing is obviously a very like solitary thing. I write by
Mm,
myself. I often will spend hours just sitting at my computer, not talking to people and writing. And yet at the same time, it's this community that's so beautiful and that's allowed me to like flourish and has allowed my career to develop. So whether that's
mm,
like through social media where I'm like constantly talking to people online who share my interests and I'm connecting with readers and I'm connecting with other authors, or whether it's like going in person and doing events and getting to meet other local writers and readers, like all of that is so important. And for me as a creative, that's what's really launched my career. Because I can just, I could do this alone or I could do this with the support of other people. And without support, it's just like this instant, like really amazing boost, basically.
All right. Yes, thank you, Shanti, for sharing these beautiful insights with us. And I want us to touch on bullying, right? Identity and also personal growth. So you've spoken openly about bullying and you've even explored it deeply in your writing. So why was that topic important for you to address?
It was a very important topic for me to address because it was something I had experienced at different stages throughout my
Mm,
life, and it was also something that I had witnessed day in and day out. And seeing the ways in which schools responded, made me realize that I really want to write about this to spread
mm,
awareness, but also to provide this sort of sanctuary for people who have experienced this. Because sometimes, like in real life, like you aren't given that comfort and that sanctuary that you need to like, pull through it.
mm. Wow. All right. So I understand that middle school can actually be like a difficult period emotionally for, many people, right? So what do you wish adults would understand better um about what young people go through socially?
I think that adults really need to understand that like this isn't something that has to happen, and I feel like that's this perspective we have a lot of the time where it's like, oh, well, this
Mm,
just happens, whatever. It's a part of life. And if we acknowledge that like, hey, our teenagers are really struggling, but it doesn't have to be this way. We can do things to help them through this, to try to help them, feel better with themselves and around other people. And also like, hey, in situations of bullying, like we don't have to just be like, oh yeah, this is normal. And instead we can address the fact that like, hey, this is a serious problem that is happening.
right. Okay. All right. So yes, and also as you prepare for college, right, and the next stage of life, basically, what excites you the most about the future creatively and also personally?
I'm so for college, I am moving all the way across the country. And
Wow.
I think that is so exciting because I have this whole new city and region to explore
Mm,
and to then therefore get so many new ideas and meet new people and also get so many different opportunities, both from like within my university and then also with this external network that I'll be building there. And I think it's like so cool to see like all the different places I can go to, maybe different like new events I can have and like do new book like places I can sign books at, and then also just like new people
mm.
I can meet and like friends I can make. Like it's all so exciting.
Wow, I'm actually excited for you too, right? I think it's an amazing phase of life. And yes, I wish you the best personally. And also, right, before we go, my final question for you today would be for you to, talk to someone out there, specifically teenagers, right, who are probably, just give some words of encouragement to, your fellow creative who are also teenagers and stuff like that.
Okay, so my biggest piece of advice is no matter
Right.
what you want to do, no matter what your aspirations are or what you're passionate about, you are never too old or too young. And I particular emphasis on you're never too young. Um,
Right.
you are never too young to do what you want to do, or at least to start, So whether or not that's like you want to be, you want to be an author, you want to write a book, you are never too young to start because this is a process of constant improvement, and the only way that you can, get better is just to write. You can take classes, of course, they can be helpful. You can read a lot, but ultimately the most helpful thing is to write. And you are never too young to write. As long as, you are old enough to hold a pencil and scribble words, you can write. And on the other hand, that extends to whatever you want to do, whether it's a profession like you want where you want to be a doctor. You can always start, researching and learning more and connecting with people and meeting people who have this career. Maybe yeah, you can't go to medical school at 12 years old. I mean, you could. You never know.
Yeah.
But you can always start learning and researching and improving your skills no matter what.
Exactly. Right. Okay. So, yes, thank you, Shanti. I think this has been an amazing conversation, and you really inspire people out there. And I would say keep doing what you're doing, right? People are looking up to you, and thanks for sharing your wonderful insight with us. Right. Which brings me to the final segment of my podcast. I call it the rapid fire segment. You could either answer with a word or a phrase starting now. So, what is the favorite genre that you read personally?
Okay, very broad, but young adult.
Okay, all right. Okay, so what is one writing habit you can't live without?
Oh, writing 1,000 words every day.
All right, and finally, what does success mean to you right now?
Um, Having my work read and enjoyed by a lot of people, and also being
Hmm.
able to connect with people, and being
All
able to,
right.
I guess, make a living doing what I love.
Wow. Okay. I think that's like the utmost goal, right? Being able to
Yeah.
make a living doing what you love. I mean, everybody strives for that, literally. And I know it's possible, by the way. So yes, thank you, Shanti. And before you go, where can listeners get to, connect with you and also learn more about you?
So you can find me on my website, which is shantihershenson.com. That's ShantiHershenson.com. You can find me on Instagram, which is just at Shanti Hershenson, and my TikTok, which is at Shanti Who Writes. And my books are available anywhere you can buy books online. Um, any of your flagship bookstores should have them at least online. You can also order them and pick them up in person at your bookstores. Check your local independent bookstores, particularly on their websites. They should be there to order.
Oh, right, right. Okay, so yes, thank you, Shanti. And to my listeners, thanks for tuning in to Conversations with Sekani. If this episode sparked something in you, just as it did in me, make sure to share to someone who you think might need this and also subscribe so you don't miss out on new episode. Once again, thank you, Shanti, for, speaking with us today. We really appreciate and have a nice day ahead of you.
Thank you so much.
All right, take care.